Look, our vision at Cyber Ethos is to Uberize cybersecurity for every business on the planet. It doesn't, one of the lines or one of the taglines that we use within our organization and when we speak to our customer, that security isn't just an IT person's problem. It's an organizational problem. It takes time, but it is an approach that we've seen that works really, really well if it's a two-pronged approach. And if the culture hasn't shifted, they accidentally, unintentionally can give the farm away. My name is Dr. Kiran Kewalramani, and I am the CEO and founder of a cybersecurity firm based out of Queensland named Cyber Ethos. Look, I've actually been in cybersecurity for a long period of time, longer than I can remember. It wasn't called cybersecurity at that time. In year 2000, when I graduated out of engineering, I started working for a small company named Telstra, and as part of that, as part of my grad program, I rotated through different themes. One of the segments that I really liked, or my part of my grad program, was working in the firewall team in network security. That is what it was called, and the whole idea was just configuring firewalls, putting rules in there, and what traffic goes through, opening up ports, closing up ports. Cut a long story short, that was my first interaction with security. Quite loved it. I'm talking 2000s, and then progressed on from that time into more project management roles and senior project manager roles and so on and so forth. And as part of that, I did do a lot of security projects as well, more network security and so on and so forth. In 2017, I was actually appointed as a CIO of a Queensland government organisation, and as part of that, security came directly under my remit as well. And at that time, WannaCry, which was the first instance of ransomware generations, if I can put it that way, what's called ransomware now, that started coming out. So I started having a deeper dive into what currently cybersecurity looks like, what are the threats, and then linking it back to what we had to do as an organization from a critical infrastructure perspective. Something that I was already passionate about anyway, and my passion kind of just grew as I had more accountability and responsibility associated with that. And then I went and trained myself in that arena quite deeply, in regards to doing multiple certifications in cybersecurity. But also, having a PhD in that arena as well. So that's, and I've started talking about cybersecurity at the board level as well now, to audit and risk committees and the board, and I've also considered being part of a board on a pro bono basis and sort of leading them through the cybersecurity journey associated with their organization. I think the inflection point for me was in year 2021, after the COVID period. A lot of work that I did in the Queensland water entity, I was actually named in the top 50 CIOs in Australia. And once that I had achieved that, I was thinking, well, where to next? What is my next realm, and what should I do next? And one option was to start looking for another CIO roles and start doing that again, which I was quite comfortable in doing. But I was like, why don't I chase my passion at that time, which was in cybersecurity? So I did. I quote a book that I'd read a long time ago, which is by Michael Gerber, named E-Myth: Why Small Businesses Fail and What to Do About It. And in that book, he talks about how people start their entrepreneurial journey. That's typically what happened to me. Exactly. Book story, quote unquote. That's exactly what happened. So I started off I quit my job. I resigned from there and I started something that I was really passionate about. And over the last 2.5-3 years that we've actually been in existence, one of Universe has actually played a lot of role in us being successful, along with our passion and drive and talent and so on and so forth too. Put it this way: my first week in my business, Optus happened, and I have never looked back. So if I could have timed it any better, I don't know what that would be, because it was in week one. Then from that time, we didn't have to educate people. Well, cybersecurity became a term that a lot of organizations and people were quite familiar with. I didn't actually had to introduce the concept of cybersecurity. So it's been interesting. Look, our vision at Cyber Ethos is to Uberize cybersecurity for every business on the planet. And what do I mean by that? Is to make cybersecurity easily accessible, make it frictionless, and tailor make it to what the customer and eventually wants, specific to their needs and their budget and so on and so forth. Some of the major challenges that I've seen over the last few years around what I think cybersecurity is something that people are getting more aware of, but what they don't understand is what is it that they need to buy and what is they're getting as part of their purchase. So how we help the businesses is to sort of translate that into business risk and sort of go through those use cases in a bit more of a language that they understand. So we don't talk about, well, we mention the word ransomware, but we explain it to them, what does that actually mean? And then bring it back to the business risk of, should that happen, what does that actually mean for your business? And we realize that that's when the penny drops for a lot of business owners, because it's not then about just cybersecurity, it's about the business risk. The other thing that we really pride ourselves is to use language that the business owners and their CEOs and the boards actually do understand. The skill set and the USP, if I can call it, that the team has, and I quite am proud of that, is to be able to talk the technical gobbledygook, but also then translate that back into the language that the stakeholders that they're speaking to, the audience that they're speaking to, they can understand. And that allows them to then act as the bridge between the technical team, who do their job really well, and also acting as talking to the CEO and the CFOs who make the financial decisions around what should progress and what shouldn't. Oh, it's very important, because once they understand at the top level down, then the culture starts shifting from there on. It doesn't, one of the lines, or one of the taglines that we use within our organization, and when we speak to our customer, that security isn't just an IT person's problem. It's an organizational problem. And as part of dealing with that issue, there needs to be a cultural shift, because there are organizational people who have access to, critical information, or they're privileged users, if I can use that terminology. And if they're not educated and the culture hasn't shifted, they accidentally, unintentionally can give the farm away. And we try and sort of bring that conversation up to the board level. And then, if we start, we do a two-prong approach. We go down to the front line and talk to them about what that means, but we also at the same time talk to the top level as well. I'm talking the audit and risk committees, I'm talking the board levels, so they understand, and that the messaging kind of comes from top down, and then we feed the bottom up, so it kind of grows and puts the whole organization with the changed culture over there. It takes time, but it is an approach that we've seen that works really, really well if it's a two-prong approach. I mean, it's something, if they looked at the word cyber, I think that kind of culture kind of still exists going, it's not our problem, although they understand it is, but they go, that's not information that I need to read. I've got operational information or financial information or legal information. Well, although now it's starting to become legal with the act that's been passed. As part of the regular briefings, I do communicate with our clients and let them know what this actually means for them, without boring them with the actual act. I just kind of give them a snippets and bullet point format, so they understand what that is. So short, sharp, very crisp information. But then at the audit and risk committee meetings, I usually try and present a paper over there so the board understands as well. Because by the end of it, they do have an obligation associated with keeping the organization safe and secure, and they need to, as part of their fiduciary duties, they do have an obligation to sort of be aware of the risks associated with anything financial, health, cyber now as well. So keeping them aware in a short, sharp, crisp language that they understand, without boring them with the gory details, unless there is a need to do so. Like every cyber business in the country, we are experiencing the same challenges. It's hard to, due to the global shortage, it's hard to find people, and it's hard to retain them as well. And then we also have to drive the balance between, we're competing for the same skill set, basically. So the way we have resolved it, or we've tackled it, if I can haven't resolved it, but the way we've tackled it, few strategies. Number one, we've approached universities and we identify talent over there and get them on internship programs. That's one, so that we can bring them into our organization, give them a little bit of a taste for what it is, and then transition them to a full-time job as such. The other thing that we've done is I've started, this is a pilot program. We've gone up to the school as well and sort of see if we can identify people who are in their year 11, year 12, just to bring them on board as a typically in a Sparky world or a plumbing world, they will be dealt with as an apprentice. We see if we can identify someone and bring them on board early, being fully aware that they're not job ready at this stage, but give them a little bit of a taste, with a view to influence them, that we can influence them towards a cybersecurity degree or a qualification. So that's another pathway we've taken. From the operational perspective, I do have access to talent pool offshore, and that's where part of our engine room lives as well. So we tap into that in order to get the service delivery facet done. And if there is a critical project that we need someone onshore, then we can temporarily bring them over here as part of the project, so that obligation and that the client requirement is fulfilled in time. Well, top three things, if I can put it that way. Number one, with the introduction of AI into the defense side, it's equally being used on the offense side as well. So as a result of that, the cyber attacks are going to get a lot more complex, a lot more sophisticated, which are some of the keywords or cliche words that get thrown around. But it'd be hard to sort of distinguish between what's real and what's not. So users will have to be they will always need to have their security chip on, so they can look out for hallmarks or some sort of a trait in there to identify what's real, what's not, because it's AI versus AI, if I can put it that way. Second, the scams and the financial frauds are going to increase significantly. 2025 is poised for that. We've already started seeing an upsurge in that facet around. So it wasn't just business; it's now heading to the consumer side as well. I'm not too sure how many people get calls on a daily basis with potential scammers trying to deploy a software on their phone, for whatever reason, whether it's technically an issue on their phone that they call up with uncalled for, and not sort of led by the customer, but by them. So that's going to increase. So consumers now need to be a lot more aware of the cybersecurity risks that are coming through to them directly on their mobile devices and so on and so forth. And third thing is around the compliance and risk. Given that there is an act that's recently been passed in Australia, and there is a huge focus from the government, federally and statewide, doesn't really matter which state you're in, that the cyber compliance and the cyber risk management is going to be a priority. There's going to be a huge expectation on the businesses that they will be protecting their crown jewels and have a reporting mechanism in time to ACSC and to the government and so on and so forth, so that appropriate risks, if it's of national significance, can be dealt with in a timely manner. So those are my three predictions for our focus areas for 2025. As part of our strategy, we are on the growth path. So we are looking at expanding our footprint into other states as well. We are predominantly at this stage have been focused on Queensland, but we want to expand that out Australia-wide. So that is our focus as well. We also want to. So that's one. Two, we also want to focus regional as well. Given that I did come, I still do live in regional Queensland. I understand it's nearly impossible to get talent over there. From the cyber perspective, it's globally a problem, but regionally even more. So we want to serve some of our regional family and friends as well in the businesses over there. So that's going to be a focus area. And third, that we are also exploring some of the international markets as well at the same time. Recently been to some international trips, and there's been a huge interest in for Cyber Ethos to sort of venture out over there. So we are seriously considering that as part of our growth strategy in 2025.